A single piece of equipment on a sinking ship saved 705 lives. But here is what almost nobody knows. The man who built it had no university degree, no formal training, just an attic, a physics book, and an idea everyone said was impossible. Italy rejected him. Scientists laughed at him. They said radio waves could never cross an ocean. The Earth was curved. Physics made it impossible. He proved them wrong. This is the story of the man who connected the entire world and disappeared into a controversy that outlived him. Imagine a world with no radio, no wireless signals, no way to call for help from the middle of the ocean. That was the world before one obsessed young man climbed into an attic in northern Italy and refused to come back down until he had changed everything. His name was Guglielmo Marconi, and the story of what he did, how he did it, and what it cost him is one of the strangest, most electric stories in the history of human invention. A story about a man who connected continents, and yet, in his own way, remained deeply divided. Marconi was born in Bologna, Italy, in 1874. His father was a wealthy Italian landowner. His mother was Irish, from the Jameson family, yes, the whiskey family. That mix of cultures meant Guglielmo grew up speaking both Italian and English fluently, which, as it turned out, would matter enormously. He wasn't a university man, no formal degree, no academic title, just a boy with an obsession, a physics textbook, and a mother who believed in him completely. The spark came in 1894. Marconi was 19 years old when he read about the experiments of Heinrich Hertz, a German physicist who had demonstrated that invisible electromagnetic waves could travel through the air. Hertz had proven they existed, sending them across a room and measuring their speed. It matched the speed of light itself, but then he died and took his curiosity with him. He never thought about what you could do with those waves. Marconi thought about nothing else. He set up a laboratory in the attic of his family's villa, just outside Bologna. His butler helped him carry equipment up the stairs. His father thought it was a waste of time. His mother brought him food and asked very few questions. In that attic, working with coils, wires, and crude homemade components, Marconi began transmitting signals through the air. By 1895, just 1 year later, he was sending and receiving messages over 2 kilometers. Then he put a hill between the transmitter and the receiver. A solid, physical hill. And the signal went through anyway. That hill proved it. Radio waves didn't need a clear line of sight. He wrote to the Italian Ministry of Posts and Telegraphs, hoping Italy would launch his idea to the world. Italy said no. So Marconi packed his equipment and moved to England. In London, things moved fast. The British Post Office was interested. Investors appeared. In 1896, at just 22 years old, Marconi received the world's first patent for a practical wireless telegraphy system. In 1897, he founded his own company. Demonstrations followed across Salisbury Plain, across the Bristol Channel. Each time, the distances grew. Each time, the skeptics got quieter. By 1899, he had transmitted a signal across the English Channel. But Marconi had a bigger question, one the scientific establishment called impossible. Could a wireless signal cross the entire Atlantic Ocean? Scientists were certain it couldn't. The Earth is curved, they argued. The signal would shoot off into space. Marconi disagreed. On December 12, 1901, Marconi stood at a receiving station in Newfoundland, Canada. 3,400 kilometers away, in Cornwall, England, his team began transmitting. Marconi held the receiver to his ear. 3 clicks. ... the letter S. In Morse code. That was all. But those 3 clicks crossed an ocean. We now know radio waves bounce off the ionosphere, high in the atmosphere. Marconi didn't know that. He just knew somehow that it would work. And it did. The next morning, every newspaper in the world carried the story. And then came April 14, 1912. The RMS Titanic, the largest, most luxurious ship ever built, struck an iceberg in the North Atlantic at 11:40 at night. Within hours, it would be at the bottom of the sea. But before it sank, 2 men stayed at their posts in the wireless room, Jack Phillips and Harold Bride, operators employed by the Marconi Company, using Marconi equipment. For 2 hours, as the ship tilted and the water rose, they transmitted distress signals into the night. First the old call CQD, then the newer SOS. Harold Cottam, the wireless operator on the nearby Carpathia, was still awake when the signal arrived. His ship turned immediately and raced through the dark, freezing ocean for nearly 4 hours. It arrived in time to save 705 lives. Jack Phillips did not survive. He stayed at the transmitter until the power failed, sending the same desperate message again and again. Without Marconi's technology, there would have been no distress call, no rescue, no survivors. The Titanic disaster would have been a silent mystery, a ship that simply vanished. Instead, it became a turning point. Governments passed laws requiring every passenger ship to carry wireless equipment manned around the clock. Radio became the nervous system of the sea. In 1909, Marconi received the Nobel Prize in physics. By the 1920s, he was one of the most famous men alive, wealthy, decorated, celebrated. He worked from a yacht called the Elettra, converted into a floating laboratory. But history remembers more than his triumphs. In 1923, Marconi joined the Italian Fascist Party. He grew close to Mussolini, who served as best man at his second wedding. He made radio speeches defending Italy's invasion of Ethiopia and was banned from the BBC for it. He never publicly broke with the regime. Marconi died on July 20th, 1937, at 63 years old, after years of heart disease. On that day, something happened that had never happened before. Radio stations around the world, from the United States to Australia, went silent for 2 minutes. The man who filled the air with signals was honored by the absence of them. Years later, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned his original patent, crediting foundational work to Nikola Tesla instead. Whether that makes Tesla the true inventor of radio or Marconi the man who made it real is a debate that still hasn't ended. But maybe that's the most honest legacy of all. Marconi didn't discover radio waves, and he didn't invent the mathematics behind them. What he did, alone in an attic, with no degree and no institutional support, was look at something everyone else saw as a curiosity and ask, what if this could talk to the whole world? And it did.
If you want to see more stories like mine, hit like and subscribe. It truly helps more than you'd think. Got questions about my story? Leave them in the comments below. I'd love to know what you're curious about.